Painting with watercolors can be a bit challenging, especially if you're new to them. So, if you are a beginner and you're struggling, this video is for you because we are going to learn the basic watercolor techniques, and the paintings I do in this video are so easy and doable that it'll give you the confidence to keep going and practicing, and you'll be doing amazing watercolor paintings in no time. So before we start, we need to make sure we have the right materials. I have a video on that linked in the description. So make sure you check that out because having the right materials is key in watercolors. So to start painting, you need to get yourself a size 10 or 12 round brush, dip it in water and apply a thin layer onto the paper. This will help to blend the colors properly and avoid harsh lines. Next, you dip your brush into some crimson and apply a little bit onto the paper to see if it spreads like this. After you do that, wipe your brush onto a tissue paper and blend it down. If you think the blending is not as smooth, you can add more water or color according to how you want it. And now I'm blending it upwards so that I can stop the paint from flowing down. This is one way to control the movement of the colors on your painting. We do the same thing to the bottom half, but with Prussian blue. So we wait for it to spread and then blend again. We blend upwards this time because we're starting from below. Then I add some more water for it to blend properly and keep blending. This technique is called wet on wet technique because we are painting on a wet surface with wet paint, obviously, so that is why it's called a wet on wet technique. And this technique is what gives watercolor the kind of foggy, blurry, hazy effect, and that's what makes watercolor so interesting and satisfying to watch. Now I mixed Prussian blue and crimson together to get this purplish color, and then I applied that to my painting and I blend it. Every time you want to blend, dip your brush into some water and dab it on the tissue paper to get rid of the color on the brush and then blend. How much water you add to your colors while picking them up doesn't matter because there's water on the paper, so you can blend and adjust the opacity according to how you want it on the paper itself. So now I'm adding some red color to the top because I felt like it wasn't bright enough, so I'm adding some red and then I slowly blend that downwards. So we're done with the background of the first painting. We'll do more to this later, but for now let's move on to the second one. For this one, the process is similar, but when you apply the water, you should stop halfway through the paper. That way when you apply the colors, they will stop flowing down at the same halfway mark. Now apply some yellow onto the paper and then pick up any kind of red you have and then brush it over the top and then blend it down to create kind of like a sunset effect. You can keep adding more water if you feel like the colors are just not blending enough. And I'm adding more red to the top to make it more bright. Just keep blending until you get that smooth gradient effect. So we're done with the second painting. Now let's move on to the third one. In this painting, we're going to mix and blend a lot of colors. So again, apply a layer of water to the paper and then mix Prussian blue and black and apply a layer to your paper. And then mix some Prussian blue and crimson to get this purplish color and then keep blending. Again, we're going to mix some more crimson into the same purple to get a brighter color, and then we add it to certain parts of the painting. The next color we're going to add is cobalt blue. Add it to the bottom and mix it towards the top to blend with the other colors. And we blend yellow and sap green together to get a light green. Again, add it to the bottom and blend it with the other colors. You should be quick with this one because you have to blend it before the other colors dry up. So I'm adding some more cobalt blue and some purple and blending that out. More purple, but this time we're blending, it's more Prussian blue than red. More yellow. Blend everything. And we're done with the third background. Now we're moving on to the wet on dry technique. Now for this technique, we won't be applying water to the paper anymore and the paper will be dry. So that's why it's called wet on dry. And for the wet on wet, we didn't have to care about how much water we were adding to the colors because we were going to blend them on the paper anyways. But for this technique, we should know how much water to add to adjust the transparency. So the best way to do this is to pick a color. I chose blue and blend it with different amounts of water and sample them on a piece of paper. Do this until you can control how opaque the colors you want to be. So once you're done with that, let's move on to our paintings and finish them off. So I'm using the wet on dry technique to draw palm trees onto this painting. So I want my first tree to be the most opaque, so I'm going to add less water. By opaque, you can also say dark. So I've only added a little bit of water and then I'm going to draw my palm trees. And then I'm just going to finish it off. I've used a small brush of size 2, I think. Yeah. I want my next tree to be more transparent, so I'm going to add more water to the paint so it'll be lighter or transparent. And then I'm just going to finish off the 3 palm trees. For this painting, we're going to draw mountains, and again we're going to use the wet on dry technique, and I'm going to add more water to the paint because I want my mountains to be transparent, because there are more mountains coming and this one is at the back, and the things at the back, according to perspective rules, will be lighter than the things in the front and smaller. So let's start with more water, and then as the mountains come at the front, like more layers come, the color should get darker. Now for this painting, we're going to draw kind of like a winter landscape thing with pine trees and snow and that's it. And we're going to mix Prussian blue, sap green and black, and then draw something like a top of a hill, I think, and then fill that. Next, you mix sap green, black and Prussian blue again, but you need more sap green this time to paint the pine trees. We're using the wet on dry technique here again, and since these pine trees are in the front, I'm making them dark by adding less water, but I'm going to draw pine trees at the back too. Then you'll see the difference in the way our eyes see the painting. It'll add so much depth into the painting and bring out the life in the picture. So since it's winter and it's snowing, I'm using the white to add dots that look like snow into the painting. So we're finally done with all of our 3 paintings. Please try them at home and let me know in the comments how it went for you. Please like, share, subscribe, and don't forget the bell icon. And I'll see you in my next video. Bye bye.